Good day, everyone. This is a continuation on the lectures about the Module 2 and also an overview for the Module 3. So, for the Module 2, again, it is all about the Earth materials and processes. So, in these lectures, I will be summarizing or give you a recap on rocks. It's three types, and then the rock cycle. So again, these lectures will serve as an additional material for you in answering the activities in the module, specifically for module 2 and 3. As I shared also links of videos from YouTube as you can use in answering again your module. Now, let us proceed. So, if we talk about rocks, you can observe a rock or you can find a rock within the in our surroundings, right? Now, how can we describe rocks or what are rocks? What are they are rocks are made of what and then how they are formed. So we will be discussing that later. Now, let us define first again rocks. Accordingly, rocks are made up of naturally occurring aggregate or collection of one or more minerals. And take note again that we have already discussed about what are minerals, right? We discusses also the physical characteristics of minerals. How can we identify minerals? So therefore, rocks, as shown here, examples, they are made up by the parts or group or collection of one or more minerals. Now let us proceed. Rocks can be into three types. So we have igneous rocks, metamorphic rocks, and then we have sedimentary rocks. Now, this topic is not new to you because in your previous science classes in your junior high school, this topic was already discussed, right? So again, this serve just a recap or review on this topic. Now, let us describe each of these types of rocks. So let's start with the igneous rocks. So igneous rocks, they are formed when hot, molten rock crystallizes and solidifies. So if we talk about molten or hot and molten, it talks about or it refers to the magma or the lava that is within magma within the earth pag napa siya sulod sa volcano. And then lava, as the magma rises and then the volcano explodes, so katong nigawas nga fluid that it nga ni touch na sa surface of the earth, that is considered as a lava. So if katong magma or lava nag-crystallizes and solidifies, meaning ni gahi, ni harden, and it became a rock, that is now what we called as igneous rock. So these are examples of igneous rocks. Now, the melt originates deep within the earth. Deep within the earth because the magma are within the earth or the volcano. So, for example, if you have seen a volcano in here, in this illustration, as you can see, this is a volcano wherein within it there is a magma chamber or hot molten materials wherein if they're really exposed to high temperature and pressure, this magma will rise, and then that is the time that this volcano will explode. But there are types of igneous rocks. Depende sa ilahang pag-solidify is if it's inside or outside or within or at the surface of the earth. So if the magma within the earth kani siya, nag-solidify or nag-crystallizes or nigahi na nga within the earth na pa sa sulod, that is now what we call intrusive igneous rocks. So they are formed from magma again that cools slowly, and as a result, these rocks are coarse grained. So makita nato murag na siya yung mga parts. So for example, this one. So this is an example of an intrusive igneous rocks. Intrusive again because they are formed or hardened or solidifies inside or within the earth, magma. Now, if the magma again rises up sa volcano and then the volcano explode, then pagawas ana mo flow ang fluid gikan sa sulod that is now what we called as a lava. So katong lava pag mag-solidify or crystallizes, it can form what we called as extrusive igneous rocks. Extrusive because it is formed outside. So that is the two types of igneous rocks. Depende sa asa sila nag solidify or crystallizes. Now, to show you some examples, so we have here pictures of igneous rocks. We have gabbro, granite, Junite, we have rhyolite, obsidian, and then we have basalt. So mostly, those cores form of igneous rocks are intrusive, but this type is an extrusive. Again, what's the difference if we talk about intrusive igneous rocks and extrusive igneous rocks? Intrusive if it solidifies or crystallizes or na-form when the magma inside nag-solidify. But if outside, the lava nag-solidify, that is what we call extrusive igneous rocks. So let's proceed. The next type of types of rocks, we have sedimentary rocks. Now, this sedimentary rocks from the word sediments, so it is formed when sediment can be gravel, sand, silt, or bio or organic materials, or particles, small particles that is deposited out of air, ice, wind, gravity, or water flows carrying the particles in suspension. Or katong mga, again, sediments or mga gagmay nga particles na tipok sila in an area and then they solidify or nigahi sila or nasuspended sila, that is now what we call sedimentary rocks. So this sediment is often formed when weathering and erosion break down a rock into loose material in a source area. So we'll be discussing later what this process of weathering and erosion as we go on the rock cycle. So again, if the igneous rocks are formed when magma or lava solidifies or crystallizes, these sedimentary rocks are formed when the sediment or small particles are deposited or suspended and they are cemented together. So these are examples of sedimentary rocks. Now, these sedimentary rocks, to elaborate or to show to you the process we have here. So this process is what we call lithification. So lithification is when sediments or the small particles becomes a rock or specifically sedimentary rock. So this are the process. So first, those sediments or particles will be deposited. So that is deposition. So clasts refers to the small rocks that are broken or katong mga gagmay nga bato nga gikan sa dako nga bato when they undergo weathering or erosion. So naanod sila or they are deposited in an area, and then after that, they will be compacted or they will undergo the process of compaction, And then as more sediments accumulate, so matipok man to sila, clasts or katong mga sediments or particles are forced closer together. Mo sila mag-glue or matipok. Next, we have cementation or they will be cemented. So groundwater moves between the grains and leaves behind mineral deposits, bonding the grains to each other. So due to the force of the nature, the movement of the water, the air, the wind, and other factors, maong they will be cemented. So again, this process is what we call lithification, the process where sediments are formed into a sedimentary rock. So again, they will undergo deposition, then compaction, and then cementation, and that is the time that a sedimentary rock is formed. So here are types of sedimentary rocks. If ang igneous natay intrusive o extrusive, right? The sedimentary rocks are divided into three. So we have organic sedimentary rocks or bioclastic rocks. We have the chemical sedimentary rocks and we have the clastic sedimentary rocks. So start with organic sedimentary rocks. So from the word itself, organic, so kani nga rock or sedimentary rocks nabuo ni sila by the organic remains or mga materials or sediments or particles gikan sa mga living things. So just for examples, mga shells, leaves, or bones of an animals nga natipok, wherein if you have observed already na yung mga rocks nga imong lantawon kay na kayo makita nga na naka-embed ng mga shells or organic materials or dahon or stick or parts of a plant. So that is organic sedimentary rocks. Now, chemical sedimentary rocks are formed by the hardening of chemical precipitates. So, katong mga chemical precipitates or particles nga na compacted sila or glued together, they will be cemented and they can form what we call chemical sedimentary rocks. Now, if ang mga particles or sediments coming from non-organic sediments or dili gikan sa mga living things, that is now what we call clastic sedimentary rocks. Again, organic sedimentary rocks are formed by the particles or sediments coming from organic remains or from living things. Chemical sedimentary rocks are coming from the sediments or particles of chemical precipitates, and clastic from non-organic remains or sediments. So these are the types of sedimentary rocks. So here are examples or pictures of examples of sedimentary rocks. So we have the red sandstone, shale, sandstone. We have the limestone, conglomerate, and we have the rock salt. So these examples of sedimentary rocks, they are formed by the combination of sediments or particles. It can be organic sedimentary rocks, clastic, or chemical sedimentary rocks. Now let's proceed with the third types of rocks. We have the metamorphic rocks. Now these metamorphic rocks arises when rocks or existing rocks, when we talk about existing rocks, it can be igneous or sedimentary rocks wherein they are subjected or na-expose sila sa high heat or high pressure or hot mineral-rich fluids, or more commonly, some combination of these factors, they will undergo changes and then becoming into these types of rock, what we call metamorphic rocks. Again, so these metamorphic rocks are formed when existing rocks, it could be igneous or sedimentary, na expose sila sa high heat or pressure and other factors, forming metamorphic rocks. So the process of these rocks exposed to pressure, extreme pressure and heat is what we call the process of metamorphism. If again sa sedimentary rocks, what is the process that describe how sediments are deposited, compacted, and cemented? That is again the process of lithification. So for the metamorphic rocks, we have the process of metamorphism. Now, metamorphism can be contact metamorphism or regional metamorphism. Now, what is the difference by these two types of metamorphism? Contact metamorphism, if the existing rocks again, either igneous or sedimentary, ma-expose na sila with extreme heat, such as the magma or lava or hot fluids, the, the rocks will be altered or changed and becoming into the metamorphic rocks. So in this type of metamorphism, the rocks or the metamorphic rocks will have no foliation. So I will show you later a picture of a foliated or non-foliated metamorphic rocks. Now, if ang existing rocks na exposed sa pressure or produces or with mountain building or naipit ang mga existing rocks or because of the plate boundaries, that or na-stress ang rocks within the earth sa ilalom, that is what we call regional metamorphism. So again, contact metamorphism if existing rocks are in contact or exposed with the extreme heat. Pag regional, pag they are exposed into extreme pressure or stress, which altered the rocks and forming a metamorphic types of rocks. So again, here is an example or picture of a foliated metamorphic rocks and non-foliated. Foliated or foliation is refers to the stripes or the flat layers of rocks because they are squeezed by pressure. So again, ang rocks or metamorphic rocks nga mabuo from contact metamorphism, wala siya foliation or wala siya yung mga stripe or flat layers. But if it is exposed with regional metamorphism, ang rocks will be foliated. So this will be uh, the physical outlook of the rocks or metamorphic rocks. So this one is non-foliated. Now, here are other pictures or sample of metamorphic rocks. We have the quartzite, the gneiss, similar sila. We have the slate, white marble, and phyllite. So white marble, this marble is an example of limestone. Ang limestone from sedimentary rocks. So in here, di ba, this is an example of a limestone. So ang limestone, pag na-expose na siya into metamorphism, it can form or it will become a marble metamorphic rocks. So again, the types of rocks, we have the igneous rocks. So igneous rocks are formed through magma or lava nga nag-solidifies. It could be extrusive pag sa gawas, lava, intrusive pag magma na sulod, nag-solidify. And then second type of rocks, again, we have sedimentary. They are formed by sediments or particles wherein the sediments will undergo the process of lithification, deposition, compaction, and cementation. And it could be into three types: organic, chemical, and clastic. Depende sa sediments. And then the third types of rocks again is we have metamorphic. They are formed through the process of metamorphism. It could be contact metamorphism or regional metamorphism. Contact metamorphism if the rocks are exposed into extreme heat, and then regional if the rocks are exposed to extreme pressure or stress, resulting into the altering or the change changes in the existing rocks. Now let us proceed with how do these rocks are formed. So we will have this diagram or the process of rock cycle. So as you can see here in the rock cycle, dili ilang isa ka process ang naa. If you're going to look at in here, we can have one, two, and then we have three, and then we have four, then we have five, or we have six, and then we have seven. So we can get seven cycle or processes within this. So let's start with this process of weathering. Now, weathering is the process wherein rocks are broken into pieces or small pieces, what we called as clasts. So if katong mga dako nga bato na expose sila into some factors physically or chemically, mga bungkag to sila, mga himong mga gagmay nga pieces or clasts. And then, after that, katong nga mga broken pieces of rocks, they will be transported. So, matransfer sila from another area because, for example, through the force of the water, the wind, and then after, they will be deposited or masettled down sila into a specific area, and then that is the time that there will become sediments or na mga existing na nga mga sediments or particles na adtong area. So mo undergo sila og lithification. So katong mga sediments, they will be compacted and cemented, matipok or mag-glue sila, and then forming the sedimentary rocks. Now, ang sedimentary rocks dayon, pwede na pud na siya mag-undergo og the process of weathering. Pwede ang sedimentary rocks nga na-form ma-expose into some factors nga cause og broken into pieces ang sedimentary rocks mo na nga there is an arrow pointing into weathering. So the same, pwede na po siya mo-undergo og the same process. But pwede po ang sedimentary rocks ma-exposed sa extreme heat or pressure or the process of metamorphism maong mahimo siya og metamorphic rocks. Just like example nato gaina, we have the limestone from sedimentary rocks na exposed sa metamorphism, heat and pressure, nahimo siya og marble or metamorphic rocks. Now, ang metamorphic rocks, pag ma-form na siya, pwede na po siya ma-broken into pieces or mag-undergo siya og weathering. In the same process, mo undergo na po siya giingana. Or pwede po, ang metamorphic rocks, it will be melted within the earth. So mo na nga mahimo siya og magma. So we know already again that the magma is the hot materials within the earth or inside the volcano. So pag ang magma within naapa sa sulod, mag-crystallize or mugahi, maka-form na siya og igneous rocks, right? And then sa igneous rocks, pwede na siya mag-undergo og weathering na pod, the same process na pod, cycle. Or if nigawas na si magma and becomes lava, and then nag-solidifies or nigahi, that is extrusive igneous rocks. And then the extrusive igneous rocks, pwede na po na siya mo undergo og process of weathering, and then the same na po, balik na po siya into a cycle. Or, pwede, intrusive or extrusive rocks, pwede sila mo undergo og metamorphism or ma-expose sila into heat and pressure wherein mahimo silang metamorphic rocks and the same process will follow. So therefore, the rock cycle in here, it shows or describes how the types of rocks are interrelated or how are they formed formed together. It could be sedimentary or metamorphic or igneous rocks, intrusively or extrusively. So again, if ato ang lantawon, the pwede ta magsugod diri as the main cause of forming of rocks. We have the weathering and then ana. Or pwede po ta mag-start with this magma. But again, take note that for the igneous rocks, it could be intrusive or extrusive. Pag magma ang nigahi, that is intrusive. Pag ang lava ang nig-solidify, extrusive. And then, metamorphic rocks, they undergo the process of metamorphism or na-expose sila sa extreme heat or pressure. And then, ang sedimentary rocks, they are formed by the process of lithification. Ang mga sediments, they are deposited, natipok, they are compacted or glued together, and finally cemented together, forming these sedimentary rocks. So that is how rocks are formed, which again we can see or explain or shown here in the rock or in this diagram, the rock cycle. So I hope that you have understood the what are rocks and then the three types, how are they formed. So if you have questions and further clarifications again, please notify me or message in our group chat. And then again, please be sure that you have already watched the videos that I have shared in our group page for you to have or an additional material or guide in answering your modules. So this PowerPoint video lectures will go the same with the coming lessons in our modules modules for the rest of the first quarter and also for the second quarter. So I will leave you with this quote that think positive, talk positive, feel positive, or in everything you do, be positive. Or look out on the positive side of life. Just with this new normal settings na to or adjustment, just be positive. Okay, so again, this is your instructor for Earth and Life Science, Miss Rahima S. Magno. Thank you and God bless.